Hello everybody, and welcome back to another guide on scripts for the X3 Terran Conflict. This is another LUSAC script, and we finally made it to the CAG. This is the commercial agent. This guy will be your best friend to making money from standard factories. When you have a factory, when you build something like Shield Factory or Kahuna Bakery or Radianium or Ore Mine or Silicon Mine, all of them, to sell and sell well, they need a CAG. In fact, they need one so much so that the CAG, along with the CLS package, has been a standard addition to the X3 universe by way of the bonus pack. Let me just remind you though that the bonus pack is a very specific version of the script that offers much less functionality and is pretty antiquated. So if you really want to use the very latest and the very best that the LUSAC scripts have to offer when it comes to traders, then you best go to the LUSAC website and download them directly. Do not concern yourself that this is a German website. Again, just use Google Translate or use Chrome just to have the page translated for you. Look for the commercial representation and download that. Obviously, you also need to download the very latest of libraries and Pilot Union, because these are required for all the other scripts. And I heavily recommend that you download many of them. I will be making videos about more LUSAC scripts, but for now, let's talk about the CAG. The CAG sits at one factory or a complex and is tasked with making you money and keep the station running. If for whatever reason your complex is not a closed loop, for some reason, I don't know, maybe your specific sector doesn't have any asteroids, it cannot get the ore or the silicon it requires. You can use the CAG to buy it. Or you can use CLS1, but anyway, you can have the CAG buy it off other people. And then of course you can have the CAG sell your product to every other consumer of that product in the universe. Now, the CAG, when it sells, it will sell to NPC factories or trade posts or equipment docks, and it will buy off NPC factories. It's not its job to go to your factories and buy stuff off. If you want to do that, use CLS1. CAG is meant to buy things that you do not have from NPC factories and sell things you make to NPC factories, giving you a profit in the process. Let's see what it does. As we can see, the CAGs have ranks. So surprising. All the LUSAC script traders have ranks, and all of them are interchangeable. Their names are different, and when you task a logistician, for example, which is the last rank to become a CAG, then he will change rank and become a major dealer. The ranks offer two variables: what they can do and how much they get paid per minute flown, which again in the game is called Misura. So the apprentice can just buy resources for your factory or complex. It doesn't do anything else, and because of that, it doesn't get paid anything. Keep that in mind. A CAG that you start at the very start, without any training beforehand, without anything, you just load up a suitable ship with a proper software, and then you start the command. That will hire an apprentice, and he can only buy resources. Too many people get confused about that. Starter CAG will only buy resources. He will not deal in intermediaries. He will not sell any of the things your factory is making. Many people complain about that. Again, don't. Just use a CLS2 training grounds. It's easy, it's cheap, it works. The next rank allows your CAG to sell your products, and he gets paid 20 credits per minute flown. So there you have rank 2 of the CAG, and already you can sell your products off your station. The second level is not hard to reach, just requires 2 hours of flight time. This is easy to find when you go to your CAG and look at his stats. We will get into that in a short while. Third level, he's called the supplier, and now he can coordinate with other CAGs in the same station. The next rank is trader, and he can now deal in intermediate goods, either buying them or selling them. The dealer can clear out his base if his base is way too low on funds, so when his station reaches a certain amount of credits, he goes into clear out mode and he just sells off as much produce and intermediate up until the levels you have set, so that he can make some credits for his station so that he can continue selling. The major dealer will change his course in the middle of his flight if he detects a better deal. All the ranks, of course, do everything above them, so a dealer will also, of course, deal in intermediate goods. Ranks and benefits are pretty much standard for all LUSAC scripts. The second level of your CAG will basically allow him to deal with equipment docks and trading stations, and he can be assigned to them. Obviously, that requires player-owned equipment docks and trading posts, which of course come much later. Supplier can improve his own speed and agility, but not cargo space. That's up to the player to increase or not. The dealer will monitor the commercial radio and not fly to any sectors that some other pilot of the pilot union has detected enemies. And the major dealer will repair his own ship by going to a shipyard. Trader and above will use a jump drive, and if they have Flight Command Software MK1, the supplier and above will use drones, and the trader and above will enter unsafe sectors if he is allowed to use a jump drive. With Flight Command Software MK2, the supplier and above will be able to use mosquito missiles to improve his survivability, and all of them will be able to use docking computers, as we have discussed through all of their scripts for LUSAC. Docking computers are good because it allows you to bypass the docking prolonged sequence, which involves just going very slowly down and then very slowly up a specific corridor. The appropriate ships for a CAG are the M3, M4, M5, M8, TM, DS, TP, and the M6. The required software, the absolutely required software, is the Navigation Command Software MK1, the Trade Command Software MK1, and the Trade Command Software MK2, as well as home basing your ship. The jump drive, the Fight Software MK1, Fight Software MK2, and docking computer are all optional and will change the behavior as described before. That's pretty much it. CAGs are rather easy. So let's see what they do. We have him, who is basically assigned to my 1 megajoule shield hub. The command software lists him as home-based in the 1 megajoule shield hub, as he should, because for your CAG to be enabled, you have to home base him. Then you go to trade, and you go to start commercial representation. Welcome to the setup of the commercial agent. Once an agent is running, you never click Start Commercial Agent again. The settings you change here will all take effect as you change them, and you do not need to start him again. You may need sometimes to stop him, but that's troubleshooting, which we will not refer to here. First things first then. Trader settings. This is where we discussed about how much he has been flying. The duration of employment for this guy is basically 487 hours, and he has been flying for 104 of them. You need these to be 2 Stazuras before he changes rank. Total wages is how much he has been paid, which is 387,000, but he has made me 227,638,408 credits. Which is amazing. This is just simply his total profits from combining what he sold from products and intermediates and what he bought from resources and intermediates. The expenses are everything he has bought for himself to complete his role, which includes the drones, the mosquito missiles, and maybe possibly energy cells he had to buy because he ran out and he had to go to an NPC factory to get them. Delete accounting information will reset all of these, so you will start monitoring him again from now. Take trainings means you want him to raise in rank as he fulfills the flight time he needs for the next one. Trader salary from station account, as all CAGs are home based, this will always be relevant. You either take your salary from the station account or not. Agreement with colleagues is what we discussed about coordination. The supplier and above can coordinate with his colleague CAGs. When you have 2 CAGs assigned to one factory and the agreement with colleagues is turned to yes, then 2 CAGs will not go to the same factory to sell or buy from. They will split their efforts. So as an example, when you have one CAG in a Kahuna bakery and you have him loaded with two CAGs and you have this turned on to yes, then they will not go to the same factory to sell their goods. They will go to different ones. They will find different factories to fulfill their sell orders. When you have this agreement with colleagues to no, then they will quite possibly go to the same factory to sell because that was the best at the moment decision they could have made. It's very likely that when they decided to look for the next opportunity, they found the same one and both will go there. Unless you have very specific reasons for that to happen, you're running a very big factory which produces way too many things and you know that your specific product can be sold in great many quantities, then you can turn this off. Check friend foe identification will refer to your global settings, frequent intervals. Whatever your global friend foe identifications are, they will go and copy them from your global settings. Not your ship's settings, not your own ship's settings, your global settings. That can be helpful because, for example, something happened you might not have expected and some mosquito hit a friendly Argon ship. Then a lot of things freak out and happen, but then after a while he checks your global settings and discovers that Argons are my friends. So he reverts back to being all friendly with the Argons. Fire Trader is for making him disappear completely off the face of the universe. He's lost, gone forever, bye-bye, as if you had disintegrated him. Reassign Trader is the typical way to move pilots from one ship to another. You cannot do this but with one other way, which is another script by Lusike, and this is the easiest way to do it, because you don't need a third ship to move between two ships. You just dock this ship to a station and bring the newer ship you want to transfer that pilot to, and once they are there, you click on this command, and then another menu comes up, which is basically your other ship in that station. You select that new ship, and then you hear an audible ping, and that's the trader moved. Accept changes. Whenever you see this in a menu, it means that when you change something, then you need to accept the changes before moving off the screen. Otherwise, all your changes will be lost. Where lists is another point that confuses many people. It says here blacklist, but you can change this to trade list. And apparently the arrows don't work with the mouse. Awesome. I can change it between trade list and blacklist. That's fairly common. A lot of people understand that. Blacklist means that whatever is in my where list, I will not trade. I will trade with everything else. And trade list means that I will only trade in that one where. Now, what a lot of people do not get is that these things are not coexistent. You cannot have a trade list and a blacklist. You either have a trade list or you have a blacklist. It doesn't mean that because you have one factory producing 4 different resources, you can set one of them to the trade list, 2 other to the blacklist, and then it will just trade with the leftovers. You either have your CAG set on trade list, dealing in only what you have told it, or you have set your CAG to the blacklist, meaning it will sell anything but what you have told it. It's only one or the other. It cannot work both ways. Exceptions. You can specify which stations your CAG is not supposed to go and visit. You can also specify which sectors your CAG is not supposed to go and visit, either for selling or buying. Same thing goes with the blacklist and trade list here as it was with wares. You cannot have both, you only have one or the other. So choose according to what you want. You cannot have both. That's just how it is. That's just how the script is coded. Only trade with satellite network sectors. That's specifically to detect advanced satellites. Lusike has his own script on how to deploy those, and all his scripts, wherever they specify about satellite network sectors, they mean advanced satellites. Only trade in sectors with a jump gate. Again, there are some sectors that don't have a jump gate, the unfocused ones, or there are sectors that only have the Terran style of jump gate, which is not classified as a jump gate. As such, they will not trade there if you set this to yes. Only trade with non-player stations, yes or no. Trading sector with the Argons, Borons, blah blah blah. This you can just set for all the different races at once. You may not want to deal with the pirates completely, so you just set this to no. And then he will not go at all to the pirates. Again, accept changes, restore defaults. Now trade duties. Trade duties are three types. It's either a trader, a shopper, or a salesman. Trader does both. He both sells and buys. Shopper is just a buyer. He will never sell. And salesman is only a seller. He will never buy. So in theory you can have two CAGs, one being salesman, another being a buyer, a shopper, and they will only do their own one thing. You may find that useful. Purchase resources. If any one resource of your factory or your complex falls below 70%, then your CAG or CAGs will go out to bring it at least above 70%. If their full cargo brings it back and they're at 71%, then the CAGs will not fly. Sell products. When your products are above 50%, according to this setting at least, your CAGs will sell them off. But that also works in tandem with this setting, sell products freighter cargo bay. Now this is a toggle, as I've explained in another guide. When you have this at off, then only that matters. Your products need to be above 50%. When your products are above 50%, then he will sell. If you set this, however, just 1% or 0%, by the way, with the arrow keys you can go both ways. With the mouse you cannot. You can only go up. So if you have that set to 0%, that means that as soon as he sees one piece of product, he will fly. When you set this to a number, the sell products percentage doesn't matter. He will fulfill this as a priority. So having this, for example, at 100% means that as soon as he can fill his cargo hold to 100%, he will fly off, disregarding the sell products. Why this is important? Consider the scenario. You have an ore mine, complex even, and you want that ore complex, which has a huge storage facility, to supply your other factories with ore by the use of the CLS-1. That means that you need some product there for your CLS-1, and then whatever is left over, you want them to be sold off, for example, or not. But if you do want to be sold off, then you need to set this as 50% here and off, because that way you tell it only sell products if they are above 50%, and then try to fill as much as you can. How much he will fill depends on where he is going. He knows exactly how much his target has space for. So if he's going to something that only has space for one ore, but he has a good enough profit margin, then he will fly to that. He will just take the one ore and go to it. Practically that will never happen because of how NPC factories work. They work based on how full they are. The point is that he will take as much as he needs based on the destination he will go to, and only if the products are over 50%. Do it like that with any number, and that takes priority. As soon as the products inside that complex or factory is 1% of his freight cargo bay, then he will fly. Which brings us to another point. If you have something like IREs, and I use that example because their volume is only 1 as opposed to the ore, which is 8, then one IRE may be able to sell somewhere. Some station out there may have a need for one IRE, and maybe that is enough for you to sell. However, if you have set it at 1% here and you're flying a big TS, one of the super freighters, then that one volume of the IRE does not even come close to being 1% of your CAG's cargo hold, so he will not fly. If you want him to cover those situations, then set it at 0, as explained on the CLS2 guide. If you want this to be taken into account, then this has to be off. Purchase immediate products, 10%. If the intermediate products are below 10%, go and buy them, provided of course that your trader, your CAG is of trader rank or above. Sell intermediate products is 90%, meaning that if my intermediate products ever rise above 90%, then you can go and sell those. So basically that says that anything between 10% and 90%, you do not touch the intermediate products. But if they fall too much, then just go and sell them. Free freighter cargo bay will basically reserve something extra above what you have as normal cargo mechanics. In all the LUSAC scripts, whatever you start with is automatically calculated. So if you start the CAG or the CLS2 with, or the CLS1 even, or the EST or anything, with anything in the cargo bay, then that is automatically ignored by rule. We have seen some exceptions sometimes where the traders will take a look at the e-cells and use them, but don't count on it. Always consider yourself as whatever currently exists in my cargo bay will be ignored, and you will live a happier life. In addition to everything else, the CAG is unique in setting an advanced free freighter cargo bay for whatever reasons. Maybe you just want to not always run full. Maybe you want to limit further your cargo bay, which actually makes sense because, as we have said, you may want to use the sell products freighter cargo bay option in a very specific amount. So you set the free freighter cargo bay to a lot of it so that the operational cargo bay of that CAG can be a lot less than the craft has available. That way, when you reduce that free cargo bay by 50%, then only the rest of the 50% will account for the 100% operational. So you have these cargo considerations. First, what you start with. All of those get ignored completely, so that gets off the table immediately. Then you have the operational cargo space, which consists of drones, mosquitoes, and jump fuel. Those get removed from the cargo hold. Then you have the free freighter cargo bay, by whatever margin. The percent is of the maximum of the freighter. So you remove that as well, and then whatever remains is what the CAG will consider his operational cargo bay. And by that, then you set that percentage. So if the total after everything is considered is 35% of what you started with, then that 35% is what 100% means. Purchase station's credit balance. If your station has reached or fallen below 30,000 credits, then your CAG will not purchase any more. He will, however, if he is a dealer or above, he will go into the clear out phase, which means selling as much as I can and what I can, disregarding all of that. I don't care, I'm in clear out mode because now my station is below my credit balance. So I'm starting to sell and sell and sell until he's over that limit. So even if selling one thing brings him over 30,000 credits, then he's back to purchasing. Quit working in home base is how you terminate the command gracefully. You just tell it quit at work or home base, and the next time he is at home base, he will just stop working. Then you can make whatever changes you want, except restore again as normal. Station settings. Home sector is Agon Prime, that's set up by your home base, you don't have any real control over it. Trade range is 25. There is also something else that configures trade range. If we go to his base, we can see that I have set up maximum jumps 50. Maximum jumps 50 does not get employed for CAGs. CAGs only care about their own setting, not this one here, not this one. They only care about their own trade settings. While we are here, intermediate product trading, buy and sell, is also ignored by the CAGs. They don't care about that stuff. So these things are irrelevant to your CAG. I have tested this extensively. I've set this to 1 and I've set my CAG to 25. He happily goes as far away as 25 sectors. I have set this to none. CAG happily sells intermediate and buys intermediates. These settings are ignored by your CAG. That's all this is for. You set the trade range for your home base. Jump drive settings are for controlling what you do with it. use it or not, and if you do use it, what jump drive energy are you supplying it with. This is energy cells. This is not jump range, as you set in the normal command window for the ships. Minimum jump range at 0 means you will jump even if the next target is next sector over. Emergency jump is for when he takes damage to the shields, and he will do an emergency jump just 1 or 2 sectors over. Emergency jump shield threshold is for what to trigger it. When my shields are at 95%, then please jump. I found this to be a very nice percentage. Other people say 1, 2, 10, 50, I don't know. I want them to be extra super safe. As soon as anything takes them below 95%, just jump. Special equipment. What kind of drones are you going to use? Normal fighter drones, fire drone MK2s, or carries? Carries is the human drones, and unless you have your own factory making those, do not choose carries. Quantity of fight drones, how many you want? Quantity of missiles, that's mosquitoes, how many you want? And do we get to use the landing computer, which is basically the docking computer? Yes, we want the landing computer, and yes, we want all our ships to be equipped with docking computers so they can be used. Yes, please. It makes things very, very much faster and easier. Automatic naming has been explained, it's always the same. Ship number, and these are variables to use from in here, as we can see from ship number and factory number. I always just use this. It's just the name of the ship that it had before it started the command, adding the CAG tag in front of it, and the rank of the trader at the end. That is enough for me. Also, if you change the name of your ship while the command is running, it will look like it has taken it, and for a few seconds it will display your new name. But after a while, it will change back to what it was before. Do keep that in mind. Replace sector name by identification. I have no idea what it does, and I've never been able to find it in my research. So I don't know what it is, and I've never used it. Sorry about that. Configure reports is very, very nice. Promotions, send me an email, messages basically down there about your promotions when you take promotion. Do send me an email when you have seen an enemy. Acoustic signals at these messages. When you do any of these, do you want me to go ping? Well, no, I don't for this case, or yes, I do. Either way. Trade log will basically keep a running log of your CAG for everything he does. And here is that log. Everything your CAGs will ever do gets recorded. The freighter with the name, where it is home based and in what specific sector, where the action is taking place. Basically that this is in relevance to the quantum tube fab in Balaji's Choice, where this pilot for this ship has sold 445 units of ore for this much price. Total made this much, and so on and so forth. Freighter, that one, being home based here, of course, because all your CAGs are going to report in this log, of course, so this needs to be differentiated. From the solar power plant L, he bought units of energy cells for 12 credits. The amount in credits is just about total transaction. It's not expenses or income. You will not find it like that. If it has sold something, that he has made this much money. He received this much money. But if he buys energy credits, then he spent that much money. There is nothing else to differentiate it. This is the transaction that occurred. This is not profit or anything else. This is exactly the transaction. This much credits have been moved. This log is located in your C drive, users, your specific login name, documents, Ecosoft, X3C, and then it's the file name log 08000.txt. Then you have the analysis to log, which is basically your best tool to troubleshoot what your CAG is doing and why it's doing and not what you want it to do. This log is exactly in the same folder as before, only now it's called log 80000.txt. That looks like that. At the very top, you have the fact that it's for the commercial agent, you have the version of the game, the script versions that you need, and then you go into CAG. who's the pilot, his rank, social security, flight time and employment time, which vary greatly, payment in how much you paid him to fly, how much profit he's made you, and what he's paid for expenses like drones and so forth. Whether he's taking promotions, where he gets his payment from, if he has an agreement with his colleagues, and if he does check for friend forward identification. Ship name, what class each ship is, what type the ship is, and what it can carry, how much it can maximum carry, and right now how much his cargo bay volume is. Right now, remember, this cargo bay volume is a 680 units. That's how much he currently has, because he's obviously carrying stuff. Relationship to all the races. Currently, at the time you presented this script, this analysis to disk, his modules installed. He doesn't have any supply command software, because why would he? He's a CAG. Landing computer is installed and activated and allowed. Jump drive is also installed and activated and allowed. These are all different configurations, different permissions. Jump drive energy and amount of jump drive energy. Special equipment, what he's going to take, how many, and how many mosquito missiles he's going to buy. His home base, he's in base alpha in an unknown sector. It's an equipment dock, it's an argon equipment dock, and the trade jump is 9 jumps. Station account is that much, and the global account is that much. I don't have any blacklist stations, I don't have any blacklist sectors, I don't have any blacklist sectors in my global configuration. Do not trade only when you find advanced satellites, because I don't have any in my current game installed, and I don't find that useful anyway. Only trade in sector jump trade? No. Only trade with non-player bases? No. And all the race conditions. What your job is, when you're gonna buy resources, when you're gonna sell products. And this is a setting that you set to none. 101 here is none in the game. This goes back to a previous version of the scripts in previous games where you wouldn't have none. In this version, in these latest versions, in X3, you do have none in the setting. Not in previous ones. In previous ones, you had to have it at 101%. It is meaningless, and so it was changed for the better, if I may say so myself. Purchase intermediate products, sell intermediate products, free freighter cargo bay, I have set to 0. Purchase stations 300, these are the defaults. Home sector, unknown sector, home jumps 25. Remember, that's different to this. Trade jumps 9. This is just what the equipment dock has set. This does not take precedence. This does. So when you analyze it, know that this is the one he's going to look at. Where list is a trade list, and he's only allowed to trade these things. Anything else he finds in here, he will not trade in. And as I said, it's trade list. You cannot have on the same time trade list and blacklist. If I had said it as blacklist, then this would have been blacklist. Not trade list and blacklist at the same time. I say it a lot, I know, but many people get confused. You cannot have trade list and blacklist at the same time. Then he lists all the products and resources that he has found on his home base and their status. And then he starts looking, both as the standard search engine from the game and as his own search engine from the script. His is far better, and that's why he finds more. Uses for this, why would you want to know this? Because maybe he's stuck and you want to know why aren't you going anywhere. You press an analysis to disk and come here and say, why are you not selling any 200 megajoule shields? You will come here and figure out basically that all the cargo bays are 100%. Maybe this is 12, so he could go there, but in your game that he wouldn't go, he would have none of these. He would only have these, and that's why he doesn't fly. And moving on, we have data storage, which is used to load, save, and delete data. Load, save, something you have. Save data of your current things, and if you select the same name, you get the option to use the asterisk to retain the name. So if you want to replace that slot because it's no longer relevant and you want to completely destroy it and replace it with another name, just start typing for something new. If you want to replace that name with a better version of what you had designed, which means you want the same name, just type an asterisk and press enter. Delete data is delete one of those and we replace it with a vacant tag. Or delete all data and delete all of them. This is your day in the game and the hours. Well, that's 20th day and 22nd hour and 42nd minute and so on. The restore defaults sets everything here back to their default. Each page has one restore default, that's for this one page, but this is for everything else. And that's all for it. That is the CAG. It is a little simpler than other things, especially simpler than CLS2 for example, but it is a very vital part of your fleet. I do hope you have found this useful. Thank you for listening and keep safe.